Good evening. You're listening to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace in the Extreme Studios just west of Orlando, Florida. I have with me the young 20-something. Are you a millennial or you're a Gen Z guy, aren't you, Professor Pixel?
I don't know.
It's sad because nobody likes Gen Z because they're very high maintenance. The reason why I bring this up is because in our continuing review of Mission Impossible Season 1, Episodes 21 and 22 of the original spy TV show, there's a lot of high maintenance stuff going on in these two episodes because, as we've said before, reviewing it, these episodes either come down to commies, Nazis, not necessarily together, but they can be independent. And then, of course, some third world dictator. And boy, do we have a delicious episode, this one, because this is one of my favorites. Episode 21 wasn't Snowball in Hell. We have Ricardo Montalban. How do I say this in PC terms that you guys won't get triggered over? He gets orgasmic glee out of whipping a black man. And it's probably the most character-driven part of his entire season one so far, since he's a part-time player anywhere. Barney, I'm speaking of course, too. But yeah, this is a rich episode. I like this one a lot. I can't wait to dive into it. What's your initial take?
Yeah, no. Snowball in Hell is definitely a good one. Barney, for the most part, he comes in. He's a good side character. He supports, but he actually gets a moment to actually shine as he's forced to face what looks like to be an echo of his past.
This is true.
Because there's nothing to go ahead and imply, well, this is all ruse. They set this up. They did use that. It felt like they purposely went ahead and just go ahead and cut all of this information in, but it didn't really feel that way in the beginning. Like I must have missed a line that said, you have some experience in it. But no, right when they go ahead and they show the back and you can see the marks, you're like, oh no. Oh no, are we getting a little more character growth from Barney? Yes we are. But it's pretty much just to go ahead and distract Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah, at first I was getting a little upset with this episode because, okay, I certainly don't mind Barney, but he always looks like he's not happy in the group, and he has that one expression on his face. It's kind of like a Kristen Stewart, PMS kind of face, but just the male version of it, which Kristen Stewart's kind of amuses me. I really don't mind it, but Barney's irritates me. And in here we end up finding out why he's such a stiff ass, really. But this episode is actually pretty tense. It's pretty tight. The whole idea of it is that there's this guy that's running a penal colony. He's got a skeleton crew, and he's got something called cesium-138. So I believe that's a semi-rare earth metal that's slightly radioactive. The idea, manufacturing-wise, is that here in the mid to late 60s, with the Cold War going on, he who has control of it and the formula to produce it can make low-cost manufacturing. And there you have your a tipping of the arms race, is what you say. And so Ricardo Montalban is going to be the guy that's memorized the formula and destroyed it and offering it up to the highest bidder. So just bullshit, juicy stuff or whatever. But I get mad when I see stuff that relies on robots and that kind of crap. So we kind of have like a bomb device thingy that's going to be super important in this episode, especially the ending of it. And we get to see it early on. Huh?
What do you mean? It's simply a what's it called? The thing that vacuums for you, that goes from place to place. What is that called?
Oh, the plug-in vacuum cleaner.
No, the one that does it itself goes. Is this little disc?
Exactly, that's what it is. The name escapes me, but we know exactly what I'm talking about. Thankfully, we've got the old Google machine here. We can look that up because that's kind of what I thought about it too. It's how do I say it? Well, let me back up to the very beginning, because this is the stuff I really like the most about these episodes. Is I really mark out the most at the beginning when they get the setup for it with the tape, and here it's in the phone booth with actual coinage, and he gets the cassette and he's listening to it. And I don't know if it's this episode or the next one, but I've noticed two things about this opening gambit. We've mentioned a few things that we said before.
Roomba. Sorry.
Roomba, that's it.
I looked it up. This is a little log Roomba.
It's a nuclear containment device, aka Roomba. It's they started, I think, colorizing some of the photos now of when Dan goes to select this crew, and I love the swinging singing of Bachelor Pal, like I say, with the aquarium and all that stuff, and all that. I think that's really awesome. But the other thing too is it's like the opening sequence when the music's playing. You get the lightning strike on the box of matches, which is cool, and then of course a really great theme song everybody knows. But I've noticed too, because I haven't really paid much attention to it, but it struck me in these past few episodes, is that it's not like quite like a trailer for the episode because there's no voiceover work, but you get scenes cut out of what's going to happen in it. So it's like a condensed version of the episode that you get during the 1 or 2 minutes that the trailers or the initial theme song's playing. And I thought, oh, that's pretty good because again, it's a show that I like it when it does more of the spy stuff rather than the action stuff, and it's definitely true here. And this one is mostly a drama, except for the ending, which definitely goes out with a bang. But the whole gist of it is that they're going to end up in this penal colony posing as like a reporter. Those guys that wear the badges and say, "Please don't shoot me or kill me. I'm here to take photos," or whatever. And I have to say this again, you being a Gen Z guy, young 20-something, when Star Trek the movie franchise came out, the hardcore people saw the first one. As a kid, I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, it's boring. I didn't know what was going on. But the second one, The Wrath of Khan, and watching the old TV show, everybody lost their shit over Ricardo because how cool he was. And of course, he's Mr. Fantasy Island, right, with tattoo, and all that stuff. And there's something about Ricardo. I think he's Mexican. He's athletic. He can sing. He's he's a triple threat technically, and he played a lot of ethnic roles. Obviously, when you were typecast a lot more in the 50s and 60s and 70s, but for him and here, he acts so damn good. It's like, holy crap. I go, him and Roland should be the only ones in this episode because everybody else is just like so beneath them level wise. And it's just so obvious whenever he's on screen because of the way the emotion lights up his eyes as he's moving, the way his mouth quivers. Again, he has a cadence, the way he speaks normally that you wouldn't say, oh, he's an actor that's great with accents or different things that we might say about certain, say, modern actors. But Ricardo, when he gets going and has this kind of cadence, it's frightening. He has a tendency to lower his voice a little bit, and he looks at you and you're like, holy shit, this guy's a badass. He's by far the best villain we've had in any Mission Impossible episode. It just from his sheer performance here alone, it's incredible. You got the one team trying to dig the hole to get and replace the cesium, and you got the other two coming in the other way, like I say, posing as a photographer, and Barney posing as what he calls a model, which we'll get into here in a second. But man, you've got the two groups doing their thing. This is when they're dialed in an episode. This is good. This is a lot of fun. I'm like, man, this had me leaning forward watching it.
And actually, I want to touch upon Barney again because Barney is like his ability in this between the two of them. Just you can feel the tension, and you're right. Through his stony expression, you don't get a lot usually. But here, there's subtlety that comes in that it's almost like an anger wanting to come out, but he's purposefully holding it back. And then you see him get tortured, which is that was a choice.
And that's the whole thing is that they're posing and they have this supposedly drummed up letter from the people in charge that tell Ricardo, bro, you got to let them do what they want to do. And he's not having any of it, but you see him capitulate to him and all that and check in on him and stuff. But there comes a scene where like he starts suspecting something's going on. And so you got an ethnic guy, Ricardo, and you got Barney, who's always been the brainiac. He's staring daggers at him the whole time. And he's supposed to be a model. But then when he starts demonstrating the different, rooms of the place and all that for their pictures and all that with the cat o' nine tails, which is the whipping post and everything, at some point when they get him up, he's just kind of like staring at him. He's like, who are you? How do I know you? And when he sees his back with all the scars, you're thinking, oh, it's too old for slavery, unless there's like some backstory. I'm like, that's too heavy for something. I thought, shit, in the mid to late 60s here on television, even though it was Saturday night, I believe, when they showed this 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you got a black man and you got a whipping angle. And then, of course, they sit him down and they torture his ass and he doesn't want to give it up. And I'm like, damn it, this is pretty damn good. I really didn't think they'd go there. They usually, even though they'll talk about commies and stuff related to it at the time, they usually forego the actual gratuitous violence and stuff that's really insinuated, even if it's being shot by a gun, it's usually off screen or not much blood for regular TV. And I thought, wow, that was pretty ballsy, I think, for them to do it at the time. And it really shows, because the B team, they're just working on digging a hole, trying to get it out. And there's like a switcheroo part to it here at the end. But just the back and forth verbal of even him and Ricardo going at it, that's television. That's all you got to do. Put some good actors together with some decent stuff in there. Ricardo grabs his arm and he's just glaring at him, and he's just uncontrollable rage for the most part, barely holding it back. I'm like, this is one of the best scenes in all of them. I mean, I know I liked one episode 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever it was when they were in the zoo, on the outside and all that, and they got the gypsy fights and all that. And that was kind of fun, right? But this one's kind of serious, and I'm like, God damn it, they like I say, a lot of these are popcorn, but this one's definitely a little bit more solid to me. I really like this. And the ending we can talk about here in a second. But what else about this episode sticks out to you that you want to talk about?
I mean, that is the highlight of the episode. Those two are the highlight. The rest of the stuff is fun. Like seeing them go ahead and hop around, that's fine. Going ahead and having Cinnamon as a nurse, so that way they can rush the liquid to stay in a cooler in the hospital was, I don't know. That plan felt a little convoluted. But like,
well, the idea is that, you know, you have your 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma, and that at STP, standard temperature and pressure, let's say sea level, let's say, you pretty much know what something is. Obviously, when water freezes, and water's kind of unique, it, you know, it turns into a solid, and then, you know, you add enough heat, you change states, it becomes gaseous and all that. So here you've got something that, as they tried to explain early on, and again, that's what they do writing wise, they tell you what's going to happen. Now, whether it's true or not, or believable, or the manufacturing, forget that it's television, right? The idea is that they had to add this extra level of confluence to it to kind of make it complicated, to give the other group something to do. And the idea is that if they don't keep it basically refrigerated and it gets to where it's like a liquid, it can be explosive, right? So that's why they have this little robotic device to help kind of keep it refrigerated and to move it and everything else there too. But we don't give a shit about that. That's just the excuse to set up what's really happening for it. Because at the end, I'm like, okay, is this going to be a shootout? Is it going to be a chase? Because it's basically 2 or 3 options when it's ever one of these episodes. And sure enough, we get to where there's the old switcheroo, the stuff in there. They've got the underground bunker going through, the Roombas going through, carrying the stuff there. But it's unfortunate that I laughed here at the end, because I felt like they did Ricardo dirty here, because Ricardo finds the hole and he's digging through it to retrieve it, and at the end he sees the Roomba coming back there, and he kind of like gets this look on his face, and then they pull out to where they're all outside in the Jeep, making sure that they've got the correct stuff, and then they detonate and blows up the whole fucking thing with Ricardo staring like, oh fuck. It's almost Patton-esque, really. And then that's your episode.
yep, that did it. It's over.
This is on the short list of one of the best episodes of the season, not by far. Immediately jumps to mind. Somebody dies, done, boom, roll credits. You don't need people talking at the end or anything else.
Even Barney, he comes out and he's like, "Let's go." He doesn't say it. He's just like, "I'm here."
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, I guess that's how you can take a couple pages off of the script and say, all right, we're done. Let's wrap. Let's go.
He's
No,
good.
good stuff. Martin Landau continues to impress, and he's had since day one. And there's various levels of acting ability. And again, a lot of the actors aren't always in the episodes, as we've mentioned almost every single time here. But Ricardo really stands out as Sephora, I think was his name. And there's very few background people, and of course you almost forget Cinnamon Carter's even acting here. She's just sort of there to me. She's not really popping, so
No.
her star is not as shiny as it was early on, where she really was prominent. So it's tough to do. Again, you can't stand on every episode, and I'll give Barney a lot of credit, because I dumped on him the most, even though Willie is in here. We didn't even talk about him. I mean, he's the big beefy guy legitimately, and he's just there to be muscle, and that's fine. So I'm wondering if Willie's going to get a chance to do it. But we've got another episode to talk about here, next episode 22 of season 1 of the original show, Mission Impossible. It's called The Confession. And guess what? It's got your commies in it. And, you know, you mentioned convoluted for the last episode. If they didn't explain what's going on here at the beginning of this episode, I think people just watching be like, what the fuck is going on? Because it's really not complicated, but the way TV is today, it's, you know, you don't even get plots this complicated. And basically, you got a commie that's hey, he's been popped for assassinating senator, and the mission that they're supposed to be trying to do is to get this commie to basically say, hey, I didn't do it. And they're trying to get him to do it on TV because they're trying to like make him like a martyr for it, and they'd go with this big twist ending or whatever like that. So this one was definitely ambitious. I feel like it's just a level down from the last episode we watched, because again, we watch them back to back when we do them. It's not a bad episode, and I think it's Pat Hingle's the guy in here is the actor. I'm going to look him up because he stood out to me as somebody I'm like, I know this guy. He's a bit of a heavy. He's fine, but it's your typical commie episode. But I'll stop and let you kind of describe what you thought about it initially.
I disagree.
Yeah, how so?
Because the whole episode is they want to get this U.S. senator to basically they want a confession out of the commie that senator hired him to kill the dead one. I can't remember the dead senator's name. I know Kent Smith.
The dead Kennedys. I mean, might as well call it that. It's roughly the same time frame, right?
Yeah. But
want the commie confession for the dead Kennedy. Okay, there you go.
That they want the confession that he basically went ahead and arranged his assassination, so that, I mean, it's a good look for him. He gets to go up, and it helps put heat on the Cold War, as they put it at the beginning.
Today's term would be false flag, kind of, in a way.
So,
yeah, hey, it looks like this, but really, it's not really. But it's not
the it's not the commies behind this one. It's the U.S. government.
I know, but it's not straightforward. No, I didn't really do it, but he threatened to kill my family if I didn't do it. One of those kind of reveal bullshit things. There's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, he said, yeah, he paid me this. He said he would protect me. Blah blah blah. But I really loved getting to the end, the twist end.
Yeah, let's save that though.
Yes.
Let's talk about the build-up.
Yeah, no, because you have Cinnamon take more of a role here. She's a reporter, and she does get to eat some more of the time, and having the conversation with the senator is really just kind of just shining on her. I think she did a good job of convincing him. Well, listen, let's make a deal. Oh, I'm in on this conversation, because they're basically setting him up. What did you think of the painting, though?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I like, again, the opening part here with the painting and all that I thought was kind of cool. I forgot to mention the last episode, but there's a shot of the Roomba coming up, and the way they shot it from the bottom of the floor with Cinnamon's calf and leg up there with her dress going down like just above her kneecap and all that. That's elegant. That's what you should do, is you should, not overly sexualize her, but just make her look pretty and just let us know, oh yeah, she's an elegant woman that's going to have a lot to do, because she doesn't here. She's got the pearls on. She's got the classy black dress. She's not. We're not supposed to. The way I look at Cinnamon is she's just there in a scene. She's not. We're not supposed to see her moving and like gliding and floating and all that. She's just there like lounging on a chair or smoking a cigarette or staring at somebody she's having a conversation, or a guy turns around and then all of a sudden he literally just bumps into her, that sort of thing. That's when she's at her best, kind of like a ghost. And you're right, you do get a bit more of that in here. The problem that I have with this episode, even though they're in the swing Singler's bachelor pad here, we see the aquarium, we see his faux turtleneck, their long sleeve thing, and also I forgot to mention, the aesthetic of the time there in the mid to late 60s. If you were dressing up, there was a type of slack there. Even James Bond, I think, wore it maybe once or twice, but that's more of a British version, where they were without a belt and it would just go across. And it's not seersucker, because that's the type of suit material, but I thought it was very prominent. Like, man, everybody's wearing suits and they're sitting around in his bachelor pad talking about something. That's badass. That's what adults do. Come over, we're going to plot something that's, a world level scheme, and we're going to do it 28 times in one season. It's incredible. The problem is when Roland goes quote unquote undercover into jail to break the commie out, and tries to play a tough guy and all
I
that.
didn't like
I'm
that.
I'm not buying it. I'm Roland. I know you're a tall guy and you're a lanky dude, and you got this nice Romanian Czechoslovakian face too. You're not ugly, but it is a look. I'm just not buying it. It just fails for me.
No,
This is the worst
really?
Roland's been placed in. It is. Him
Oh,
being a physical threat and trying to intimidate the guy physically in the jail cell. It doesn't work for me. Maybe it's the
but
constraints of the time with the way they can shoot stuff with violence, but it's just not.
he's not supposed to be a physical threat like Willie and the size of a house. He's not supposed to be that. He's supposed to be like he's crazy. That's
Yeah,
what, and he plays
I
crazy
know.
well.
But you're with somebody that you're trying to intimidate, whether it's crazy or physical or whatever, and it just a guy like that he's trying to intimidate that's in the jail cell. I don't think would have fallen for it. It wasn't convincing to me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking. I'm not saying he's a shitty actor or whatever. It just didn't work for me.
It worked
I mean, he's
great
still
for
being
me. It was
split.
one of the best parts of the episode.
He's no
Like,
Mel Gibson crazy, where you see that
like
twinkle in his eye and you go, he's fucking the head. It didn't work for me. I'm being straight with you. That's all.
I don't know how to explain it in a way. Like it just did. It clicked for me.
Okay, good.
Seeing them set it up along the guy, and the guy like, no, I don't want to do this. Leave me alone.
But the
We
real
haven't gotten
standout acting here
guns.
is Pat Hingle here. He's the guy that Cinnamon's talking to in the next scene there and suited up, and he's always played this kind of role, and he does it really really good. So I was really pleased that in back-to-back episodes we've got a very strong heavy at least presence. You know, the last episode, one of the reasons why it was so strong with Ricardo is because the whole episode focused on him. They let him be kind of lead. Here, you know, they've got some other stuff kind of going on too, but Pat Hingle's just very good in it. And you're right, Cinnamon does get to do a lot more too. So take it away. You like this episode more than I did. Give me some more.
Well, towards the once they go ahead and get him in jail, and he is intimidating this guy, thinking that he's insane.
Yeah,
He
out.
has a gun, he has a plan, and he's saying, "You're not going to mess this up for me." What do you mean I'm going to be stuck with this guy during our arraignment? What do you mean we have to go cuffed? And he's pissed off about it. Obviously not, because it's set up. But he has to drag him along, and you see this guy, you almost feel bad for him because Roland is totally like, no, you're coming. You're a part of this now.
Yeah.
The only thing that could have made it better is if they had a fake shot the guard, because the guard was in on it, obviously. You might as well.
The gun was at the old. Well, you know what? One of these days we'll have to analyze it, but let's mark this down on our imaginary calendars here that we'll forget in 10 seconds. But is it 1967? I think was when this season came out of Mission Impossible season 1. So this is the farthest I can go. I think I can think of going back in my head where you have the cutout in a book to hide something, whether it's a tape to tape your enemies' voices, or in this case a gun, which I'm like, oh dear Lord, because I know we've seen it in other stuff there, but my goodness, it just I'm glad it was working for you, but it wasn't working for me. But
but no, I like that. I like the intense moment with pardon me, with the canvas that Danny is painting.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you just paint it while I don't pay attention to it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, they say in acting, you don't just recite your words or have a conversation with somebody. You should do something physical while you're doing it. Ricardo did a great job of that here with the painting. I couldn't help but think of Ricardo with the kind of nine tails, kind of like looking around, or like when great people back in the day, Humphrey Bogart would be talking to somebody and lighting up a cigarette or a cigar. No, I
Oh,
just
man.
this is just tough for me for watch. And then I kept
Because
saying, all
he
these
can't
guys in this
paint.
series, you got them painting, they're all in suits, and you got Cinnamon in this horrible color scheme, even though it's probably a parrot green dress, which is somewhat tasteful, but it's got this awful orange collar on it, and it's just the colors of the time, and then fuckers standing there painting. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to deal with this.
When the senator goes over there and he picks it up. Oh, my yellow is green. Dun dun dun.
It's so bad. It's so bad. All
That
right,
wasn't a
get to
strong
the ending
moment.
and the crazy part to it here as we wrap it up.
Yeah. So turns out
There's a Willie sighting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Willie's there.
He's there.
I'm not going to give you a ride. Get out of here. This is the most growth we've seen from Willie. He's the size of a house. But no, it leads to Roland Hand getting the commie into the office of the senator and trying to get
wrong. It's the Spider-Man pointing at you scene. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Huh?
It's the Spider-Man pointing at you sign. Everyone's got their guns in a circle. I'm sorry.
They want to get a confession out. And then out of the back, they're watching.
It looks like Don Knotts in his fucking gas man suit. I'm sorry.
Up. Who is it? It's the murdered senator.
Dun,
He wasn't
dun, dun.
actually dead. It was just a plot.
A ploy, if you will. How dare Mission Impossible do this? I should have known something was up when I saw him painting. I'm sorry. Please finish.
These two, I think, might be like with this. I think this might be the campiest episode of this show.
You know what? That's a good way to describe it because I don't think it was bad. I really did.
Not at all. It's so much fun.
I think that it doesn't work, but go ahead, finish it up, and then we'll finish up.
Yeah, but basically they go ahead. He confesses everything that's happened. I'm not really dead. He didn't commit a crime. Ho. But this is being broadcast on live television.
Yeah.
And so the confession that they went ahead and just tried to push America further into war doesn't sit well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an ending. But it wasn't a car chase ending. It wasn't anything like that. It was done. But how's Roland Hand going to be able to go anywhere anymore?
I know, right? Well, details, right? Well, the one thing we did mention overall with this series is that we've noticed the template, which is fine. We know what to expect. It's just how do they go about doing it? So we've got our boundaries set up. We have our characters coming in and out, which isn't a bad thing. It doesn't allow, I think, for a lot of character growth necessarily, and obviously Roland's the one that stands up more than anybody. I would say Cinnamon's probably number 2 after that, but you know, it's hard to say how things will develop over the next few seasons. But here in season 1, it's the Roland show, maybe with Cinnamon a little bit. And although I got to admit, over the past several episodes, even though he's kind of more like the fixer, you know, you got Dan kind of like stepping up a little bit too. So I'm liking not knowing what to expect as far as who's going to be in it or how, whatever. And nobody really cares about
I forgot to mention, I loved the payphone. The payphone way of receiving the message was great.
Yeah, and you're starting to see, and it's yeah, it's great. It's iconic, right? I mean, obviously it has been, but this, I mean, how iconic was it at the time? You know, 20 episodes in, and obviously it was somewhat successful as a show because it lasted for so long. But it's campy is a good word for it, and if you can't have a little bit of camp, have a little bit of fun in an episode, you know, then what the hell are you watching, right? I mean, so I didn't want to beat up on it too bad because there's been more forgettable episodes that we've had of this, so it's not that horrible. It's just when you come off of like one of the better episodes, anything next to it, unless it's like a continuation or part of a meta theme, which they have not had yet, then it's going to be hard to kind of sit there and say it's got value, because you can watch a lot of these out of in almost any order really, and doesn't seem like it's going to make a difference so far. But good episodes, a bit more entertaining than the last batch that we've been doing. We've only got a couple more pairs to do, because I think it's 28 episodes. We got, I think, 2 more weeks of doing it. So it'll be interesting to see how it finishes up. But I didn't see any indications of anything coming in the future for season 1. So it is what it is, and we're enjoying that ride. Any other final thoughts?
Nope, that's pretty much it. I mean, 3 more weeks.
There
23, 24, 25, 26.
And then 27, 28. Yeah, 28 episodes, I believe. You are
Earthy
correct.
Kid is coming. I'm excited.
That'll be interesting. Absolutely, it will be. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Season 1, episodes 21, 22 of Mission Impossible, the original TV show. Check it out. Let us know TV shows you'd like us to cover, season 1 specifically, or take a look at some for this 2024 year. We've got a lot, and we're not opposed to doing older ones, newer ones, short ones, long ones, you name it. We got it, as long as it's extreme. For Professor Pixel, I'm your host, Rob. Have a good night, and remember to stay extreme. Good night now.
This was not a Dan Curtis production.